Hello everyone, what's up? Leviathan news here on a Thursday. The week is kind of starting, at least for the guys in the US, I know, because it was Labor Day. It's September 3rd. Nice to be on, to open a new week. And to be honest with a guest that I really like a lot, and I really been watching from a side these past few years quite a lot. First time that we have Landwalker on here. Landwalker is the founder of LandX, right?
Correct. How you going, mate?
I'm doing well. Thanks a lot. Thank you for coming, man. Really appreciate it. And shout out to DK for helping with coordinating this one.
Hey, DK.
We enjoyed meeting him in Belgrade, like I told you. Really fun guy and hardworking guy as well, it seems. And I really want us to get into all kinds of stuff because we had LandX on actually a few months ago here on Leviathan, but we never had you on. I was always very much into getting the honor of talking to you as well. But before we do that, let me just present our sponsors for a minute. And our sponsors, some of you guys already know, are yieldnest. Shout out to Dio, a friend of the show. You can find them on yieldnest.finance. Let me just pull up their Twitter here. And if you're into LRTs and risk-taking in general, I definitely think that you should be checking them out. And we really appreciate it. Really appreciate this sponsorship, our first ever sponsorship, to be honest, here at Leviathan. It's kind of big for us. So follow yieldnest on X. You can go on their Discord, whatever. Go to all the links on the linktr.ee/yieldnest and check them out. All right, let's get into it. How have you been doing, Landwalker? How's the market? How are markets treating you? And how do you see the landscape in general?
Yeah, well, markets are pretty bad for, I guess, a whole bunch of sort of altcoins, and in that sense. But we do see some very good loyalty from the community, and we can see that some of the guys that went in a private round are now underwater first time in almost a year. We've listed at 50 cents, and I'm talking now about the governance token that we really don't really talk about.
It's LNDX, right?
Yeah, it's LNDX. It's a governance token of the platform, and basically the owners and stakers of the token are beneficiaries of LandX Foundation that owns the protocol. So the LNDX token was listed in December at 50 cents. We were trading as high as $3 at some point. Now we're down to 38 cents, which is quite volatile, I guess. But overall, it's not bad because we kind of mimicking the picture of a lot of RWA coins in that kind of market cap range between, let's say, 3 and 10 million. And we were trading, I think, as high as probably 15 million market cap. So it's still a very early stage, very early days. Our treasury is much bigger than our market cap, which is crazy. But we raised quite a bit of money during the public and private rounds, and we've been deploying it strategically to be in a position where LandX Foundation can be effectively self-sufficient by the end of this year in terms of its burn rates and in terms of its income, therefore giving us a very kind of smooth and long runway of capital that we have in the treasury to keep building, deploy strategic initiatives and launch new products and find that product market fit for the products that we're building, with the philosophy centered around delivering real world solutions to real world problems, and using DeFi as a mechanism and as infrastructure to deliver these solutions to anyone from farmers in Colombia to merchants in Argentina to to financiers in Canada. We have a very wide range of actual and future potential clients that our solutions are appealing to, and merging their sort of appetite for rapid capital with ability to generate some substantial yields in DeFi. I think this is where we'll find ourselves in the future, being that mechanism that can, or platform protocol that can provide investors on chain exposure to non-correlated asset class, agricultural investment, commodities. Everything is sort of everything is associated with production of farmland commodities, with big, I guess, big part being played by rice, corn, soy, and wheat commodities and farmers that are producing these.
Okay, you gave quite an amazing recap there of a lot of the stuff that I want us to get
We can
into.
wrap it up now.
Yeah, because I really think that it's a lot to wrap around, especially because of the uniqueness of LandX as a project within the DeFi industry, because it's not exactly your I don't really like using this term, but it's not exactly the average DeFi project.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm kind of curious. Maybe we can back it up a bit, and how did you even come up with it? Like, what was your background? What was maybe your unique position that made you, if it was you, by the way, to think of, okay, this is the kind of product actually we need to build, and this is how I'm going to approach it. What was the background to all this coming up?
Oh, look, it's yeah. So the story, I guess, goes back to probably sort of COVID year, so year 2000. So I have another business that I co-founded a while ago, probably 7-8 years ago, which is health and wellness related business, absolutely unrelated to blockchain. But back in 2008, 2018, with me being exposed already to sort of blockchain and DeFi for a few years, I thought that it'd be cool to one of the products we had was a line of exercise equipment, which is quite unique, and I thought that it'd be cool if we can, as a pilot, build a mechanism where we would reward people who are exercising on our machines that require a very specific type of motion control. It's not your sort of normal gym stuff. You really need to put and apply your whole sort of biomechanical kinetic change to the motions that you're producing. And it'd be cool that if we would apply some algorithm that would measure the quality of the motion produced by a person, because ultimately the better quality motion the person produces inside that machine, the better outcome he will have in terms of impact on his recovery, fitness, or whatever stuff he's doing. At least this was a theory and hypothesis. And then further, to sort of build on top of that, we said, well, why don't we reward people for producing a better motion, right? Basically better quality of motion, meaning range of motion, smoothness of motion, number of repetitions, recovery times, and all that sort of stuff built into an algorithm. And then we said, well, why don't we use blockchain to reward the users with the tokens on that exercise equipment? And it was a tremendous success. We sold that whole concept and the pilot to a friend of mine who used to run a crypto center in Lithuania. He's a very famous poker player, Tony G. Maybe some guys know him from videos on YouTube. Like you can look him up. So he was fascinated with this equipment, and he bought it for his crypto center in Lithuania. It's still working there, by the way. And then
When was that, by the way? When was that?
it was 2018, I think, maybe 17 or 18, very
Okay.
early days.
And by that time, just to be
Yeah, I've
sure,
been already for a few
you're not a
years.
founder. Like you're a crypto investor, but you're not.
I
You
was
don't
no, I
have
was no, I was a founder of a project, but I was dabbling in DeFi and really fascinated with the whole blockchain idea, primarily with smart contracts and real world applications. I understand the broader picture, having background in economics. I have an understanding of a broader picture of crypto, but I was always interested in finding how crypto can interact with real world problems. And the first problem, as I said, was how do we motivate people to exercise and produce a particular outcome on exercise machines, rewarding them with tokens, given them for not just simply the number of repetitions, that'd be easy, but we would have algorithms that would process quality of their motion, etc. And then they would have either more or less tokens, depending how much effort they're producing on these exercise machines. So it was a pretty cool idea. I think that maybe one day I'll pick it up again and do it maybe in my next project, because I really think that um, uh, it's like it's cool to be using blockchain mechanisms and infrastructure to produce some real world impact. Anyway, long story short, the guys who invested in that health and wellness project and the whole concept, um, so some of them were a bunch of farmland owners from Europe. There were also that I've known them for a number of years, but we've never kind of went outside of that sort of health and wellness mutual interest that we had. But in early 2000, I was speaking to them about what kind of problems they're facing in their agricultural industry and how can blockchain maybe potentially help them solve some of the problems that they have. I have no idea what agriculture is back then.
And
And
again, Landwalker, who are these people that you're?
so they are, yeah, so they're a group of farmland owners from Europe, quite prominent with significant land holdings across Europe and Latin America.
Okay, and you just knew them like through your business or
Well,
friends or what?
I've known them for a number of years through business, mutual friends, etc. And they were investing in some of the projects that I did. So we have a long relationship with those guys. But the bottom line is that they didn't know much back then about blockchain, and they didn't much about agriculture. So we kind of were bouncing ideas off each other periodically because they were interested in blockchain, and I was interested in this big agricultural subset of economy that wasn't really represented on blockchain in any shape or form. So my vague idea was that it'd be cool to do something with agriculture on blockchain. That's how it's all started. So I said, guys, why don't we explore what we can do on blockchain for agriculture as an industry? And it sort of, yeah, so they were interested. We were chatting for probably 3-4 months about various things, and we zoomed in on a concept that we started building, which is basically a platform for farmland NFTs. It's like OpenSea for farmland NFTs. There's no liquidity in the global farmland market. It'd be pretty cool to put farmland as an NFT on the marketplace, get investors exposed to it, allow people to buy land in Venezuela or in Colombia or Argentina or Bulgaria, Romania, or anywhere else, right? And we thought, okay, well, that's a pretty cool idea, because then it was a time when monkey NFTs were a couple of $100,000, and we thought, well, you could probably buy a decent piece of land for that amount of money that you're spending on a monkey. So why don't we build that marketplace, which we did, and then we took it to the market, soft launched it, and found absolutely zero interest. Not, it was the biggest effing flop that we've experienced in the whole journey. There was
Really?
absolutely no interest in the prototype of, well, they were like, yeah, that's cool, but I'd rather buy a monkey, right? But worse than that, the farmers were saying, oh no, we're not going to sell our land. We're not interested in selling our land. And we didn't quite understand that the farmers don't want to sell their land. It's the last thing that they want to do.
Yeah, it's the livelihood. It's everything for them.
They don't want to sell it. That's it. Bottom line, they don't want to sell it. They don't want to hear about blockchain or anything, more money, nothing. They
Yeah.
just want to sell it.
Also, often like there's not a huge correlation between farm people and blockchain people. Like,
Yeah. Not
exactly.
true. But back then it was even worse. So anyway, so we thought, oh shit, we've just spent 3 months building a prototype. Everybody spent quite a bit of money, myself included. And then, where do we go from here? And then
Okay.
I can't remember who it was. It might have been one of the guys there, one of the investors who said, look, I came up across this concept that you can shard an NFT, right? So you can break an NFT down into shards, and then maybe, or I heard it somewhere on the podcast. It was very early days of this NFT sharding thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh shit, this is good. This sounds good, because if we can shard an NFT, it means that people will not have to put up 300 grand, right? Because that was the problem, right?
Like you mean that you can fractionalize it?
Yeah, exactly. So we can fractionalize this NFT and get a lot more people interested. But that still doesn't solve a problem of the farmer doesn't want to, not wanting to sell his land. So we said, okay, well, what does the farmer want? And we went to, we had probably then about 30, 40 people that we spoke to in different countries. And we went on a meeting trip with them, basically online, talking to them about what problems they have. And one common issue that all of them had was that they have no access to finance. They're struggling accessing finance. Some of the farmers were paying 35 to 40% a year. Some of them were paying 25% a harvest. And if they had to harvest, they'd be paying up to 50%.
Wow.
To access any capital. It just
in which countries is that, by the way?
Well, Southeast Asia is pretty bad. Latin America is probably second worst. Africa is, and I'm talking about Zimbabwe. I'm talking about South Africa. Horrendous. Still.
So you're basically referring to, like, I thought, like the developing countries.
Well, not Holland, not US, not UK. But
yeah, I don't know what's the politically correct term for it, but I think it's like
not Western developed world, yes. But some of them would be European countries of a former Soviet bloc. So as they call
okay, like Eastern Europe maybe and stuff.
Yeah, Eastern Europe, right.
By the way, just in the last few years, I realized that, I don't know, for example, with Ukraine, they say it's the most fertile land.
Yeah, but we didn't go to Ukraine or Russia, but
yeah, kind of extreme.
I mean, it would have been probably okay if there wasn't, the situation that they're in now. But back then, when we started in 2021, it was, there was no war, everything was okay. But we started focusing mostly on EU countries, Latin America, and then we circled in Latin America and EU. So Southeast Asia was not possible for some reasons that I'll explain, and Africa was a little bit far ahead, sort of further down the line for us, which is still a very exciting future market. So anyway, the problem that we discovered was that none of these guys had a very good kind of pathway to finance their either expansion plans or improvement plans or margin improvement plans or price improvement strategies. For example, they would harvest rice, and then in Colombia, the mills will tell them the price at which they will buy that rice from them. And the guys would have no ability to do anything with the rice other than sell it to the local mill.
Because it's like regulated there that it has to be that way?
It's because they have no money to take it somewhere else on the mill. The mill
okay. So they basically own them anyway. Like it's
exactly. So
the mill market, and like who are you going to sell it? You're only going to sell it to me. So
so I'll give you the price, and it's going to be the price that you will not die of hunger. But you won't make any money, but you won't, right? So the mill would then buy all that rice and then dry it and then package it and sell it with 2x, 3x margin.
Yeah, so basically they control the capital, so they can basically earn all the money.
Which is a common, exactly, and it's a common scenario everywhere in the world, where the farmer is that small guy who is doing all the hard work, but then because he doesn't have capital, he can't really do much other than sell it because he needs money basically now. Right?
He just has to, and he's kept in a position where he has to perpetuate the cycle, otherwise he won't make it to next year. So basically, unless something changes that equation, it's going to go
exactly. And he goes to the bank, and the bank says, sure, here's an application for 5 years of audited statements. I think the bags and like all these guys who would potentially be able to offer finance, I think they like somehow mysteriously are not interested, because it's a very reliable business. The guy grows every year. The product is in demand every year. Yes, here and there, every now and then, there could be like, the weather problem or some, loss of crops, but you can insure against that, which we do, by the way. So
you do in-house?
We do crop insurance.
Wow. That wasn't the case in the past, right? Like, I didn't
remember. It was really something that we planned. We figured out a way how to do it. So I'll talk about it. So anyway, the guys there are all in the same situation, no matter where they are. If they're small to medium-sized farmers, of course, if you're a multi-corporation with thousands of hectares.
With thousands of what?
With thousands of hectares of farmland, and which is basically, let's say,
farmland,
tens of millions of dollars of assets.
Not a farmland.
Yeah. We've got some questions popping up there. I'll address them. This is a good question, whether they have a
let me just show it on screen. Apologize, I didn't know this.
No problem.
You mean this one, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Oh, this is lovely. Looking good. Yeah, just as I'll address this question. So let me finish this line of thought before I get lost in it. The same problem was everywhere, in whether it's Latin America or Eastern Europe or somewhere else. There was somebody who would make the conditions of the farmer impossible for him to be able to grow his business or expand or be in a better sort of economic situation. He would also have to sell either quick or cheap or whatever. So now we said, look, what about a very simple solution? If you had money now to build a silo where you store your product, and you store it for 6 months, and then when the mills are out of stock, then you come to them and say, well, here's a different price. They say, yeah, that's great. We can get 30-40% more for the product in 3 months, right? So you're looking at 30-40% improvement in their revenue in 3 months' time, because you can hold on to the product for 3 or 4 months, right? Now, that's an easy thing to finance, I would imagine, right? So we thought, okay, well, this is crazy. If we can get somehow the funding to store that thing. So we started exploring silo business and whatever. That didn't go well because, it's difficult, complicated land. We need to purchase, establishment of local businesses, etc. But we thought, okay, well, the farmers can do it themselves, but they need to be able to borrow funding from us, from investors on chain, somehow in such a way that will deliver them long-term value, not a 3 months loan, not a 6 months loan, but a long-term financial relationship where they would be able to, amortize their their farm or whatever they have over a long period of time, 25, 40, 50 years, let's say. And one of the farmland guys that is very switched on was saying that there was this crop share relationship between owners of the farmland and workers on that farmland in America before the Federation. So let's say 200 years ago. When the slaves were freed, they were offered by owners of the land to become crop sharers. And because they had no other skills, they would stay in these farms, although they were free people, but they would still stay in these farms and say, yeah, we'll crop share, which means that we will, harvest and sow and plow and do all that stuff, and then we'll pay you back in part of the crop. So they would come to the landowner and say, well, we're ready, but we have no money to buy the inputs. And the landowner say, sure, I can fund that. I can give you money for inputs, but your percentage of your crop sharing would increase. Oh, we have no equipment. No problem. We'll fund that for you as well. So the crop sharers would end up paying 80% of the harvest to the landowner, and they would retain 20%. So they were in the same or maybe slightly better position than probably worse position, really, because now they have economic problems that they need to look after, right? Now they're responsible. Before they were fed, now they need to produce enough to pay 80% to the farmer and live off 20% that they're producing.
So if I understand you correctly, it's like a good example of them. They remain slaves.
Exactly, they remain slaves, but they remain economic slaves.
Yeah, but not officially.
But not officially. Exactly. So a lot of them were still, and we thought, okay, but what if that relationship is what if this economic kind of formula would flip, and it wasn't 80-20, it was 20-80 or 10-90, right? Would that be better? What if a farmer would be able to pay 10% of his harvest to somebody who would offer him upfront capital that will be sufficient for him to modernize his business, build a silo, buy equipment, and do whatever, with the long-term commitment of repaying or paying 10% of his harvest going into the future? And we bounced this concept of some farmers, and they were like, well, if it's possible, we'd look at that, of course. How much money are we going to get? And the economics of that is such that the farmer would be able to get basically as much money as he would have got if he'd sold his whole farm in some places of the world.
With him keeping it, you mean?
Huh?
With him keeping it.
With him keeping it and having an obligation to pay 10% of his harvest to somebody who gave him that, that money.
For like a specific amount of time?
For 49 years, rolling over forever. It's a perpetual relationship. Farmer would sell his 10% of his harvest to somebody who would give him now money, right?
So just to again, like to be sure that I'm getting it. Basically, these 10%, therefore, this farmer now being able to actually be liquid about stuff, to have some liquidity and being able to, okay, I can pay for that, I can do that. I'm not forced to play like according to the rules that are being forced over me. All of a sudden, I'm the businessman as well.
If I'm smart, I'm going to build a drainage system now on my rice fields in Colombia. Like we've got our farmer Juan, we've got an interview with him on on TikTok, which is fascinating because he's talking about the problems and how he's using finance. So he's built irrigation system, and now what he's doing is he's getting 2 crops a year.
Wow.
Right?
Instead
Before
of
he was getting 1 crop a year because in the wet season he couldn't harvest, but now he can drain the fields with a drainage system that he's got now, and he can collect 2 crops a year, which doubled his income. Wow. Ridiculous. And all he needs to pay is basically a fixed amount of harvest.
And also, like he needs to pay a percentage in a way.
No, it's not a percentage. It's a fixed
he doesn't
amount.
need to like pay in advance, like give me an advance of I don't know X amount of money, and cool.
Yeah, it gets like, better than that.
He gets leverage off of his own
Right. So his percentage that he pays, he chooses how much he wants to pay. right? It's not a percentage when, oh, if I made more this year, I'll pay more. No, it's a fixed amount of kilograms of harvest every year.
And
So
these are like priced according to the market price of
to the market price,
commodity?
exactly. So he can sell the commodity and pay that to the, to the protocol, or he can ask the validator, who is somebody who is helping to organize all that stuff locally, and he can buy the stock off him, sell it, and then pay to the protocol, whichever way. So the bottom line is that he now has a fixed commitment every year that he needs to pay, let's say 300 kilograms of rice per hectare, right, for argument's sake. And that's his ongoing commitment. But for that, he received a bunch of tokens equal to one, right? So
And
it's
these
called
are the
X
X
rice.
tokens? These are the X
Yeah,
tokens?
X tokens. One X rice token is basically 1 kilogram of rice every year when you stake it. So it's an IOU. So
Okay.
we gave him a token and said, okay, this is 1X rice token. You can sell it now to anybody. And when they have it and stake it, you got to pay them 1 kilogram every year.
Okay. And by the way, what happens when the price like changes? Like, for example, I don't know, like the price of rice was probably X at the beginning of the year. End of the
Yeah.
year, price
Yeah.
probably changed to
Yeah. So the price of rice a year ago was like 30 cents. Now it's about 25 cents, for example, right? So what happens is that he needs to pay less yield. So he pays less in dollar terms, but it still pays the same amount
It's the
in
same amount
terms
of kilograms. Like
in kilograms of rice. Yeah, exactly. So what happens with the X token then? So the X token, and it's a fascinating instrument if you really sort of get your head around it. It's a perpetual, basically, it's a perpetual bond. It's a perpetuity. But a perpetuity is really something that has a fixed amount of payments. There are some perpetuities issued, by, by Dutch, 400 years ago, but they're not worth anything because of currency, devaluation. So a perpetuity would pay you, for example, 5% of value every year, right? So let's say it was $100 issued, um, 100 years ago, right? It's a different $100 now, but it would still pay you 5%, which is 5 cents, right? So how much would you pay for it? Not much. So perpetuities don't work in finance because they are denominated, the payments are denominated in units of currency. And when you denominate your interest in units of currency, every year the value of these payments is reducing because of the inflation, right? And devaluation of the currency. So yield is becoming less and less and less and less, right? How much would you pay now to be able to receive 5 cents a year, right? Not much. I mean, it's not worth much to you. But 5 cents 100 years ago was a lot of money. Much more money than it is now, for example. Probably 100x more. So our perpetuity, the X token perpetuity, is different because it pays you in kilograms of commodity, and the commodity doesn't lose value over time. In fact, it outpaces the inflation historically by a few percentage points because there's more people, because the climatic conditions are changing, because food's becoming better, more expensive, etc. Right?
and because people still eat rice. Like,
And they will always eat rice
yeah,
and
hopefully.
corn and soy and wheat.
Exactly.
So 85% of the calories that we are consuming as humans is produced on 2% of farmland.
Wow.
Yeah. So 2% of the surface of the planet is the farmland is producing 85% of the calories we take, to be exact. So this commodity is precious. It's probably third by importance after air, water, and then food. We can live without air for 30, seconds, for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, without water probably for a few days, and without food, 3 meals, 9 meals away from anarchy. We got to eat, and there's more people, and there is all sorts of climatic issues. There's soil deterioration, massive problem, and farmers need to produce more and better food. It's not becoming cheaper. So you disappeared on camera.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
Right.
I'm with you.
Right. So basically, the X token is paying in units of commodity. It's a perpetuity that pays in units of commodity, which is unique, makes it unique in TradFi, makes it unique in DeFi, and the whole model is extremely unique, which increases risk, but also increases potential reward, because we believe, and what we're finding is that it presents a lot of interest from both investors on chain and the farmers in real world. Of course, it's a new product. It's sort of taking time to get a message across. We're still learning how to do it. It's complicated in a way, but it's basically like 1x token is like owning a small piece of land that somebody works on that is paying you 1 kilogram of commodity every year. And then you can use that piece to kind of combine it with 4 others, so rice, corn, soy, and wheat, and mint X basket, which is like auto compounding vault that
Okay. Wow.
that is basically taking all that yield within itself and grows over time in value.
Okay. So you can like keep different types of X tokens. You wanted to have like a portfolio or of the different commodities, and then you can also you say deposit it into an X basket, which actually generates yield on top of your farmland assets, on-chain assets.
It's close, but not exactly. So 1x token is one. So one staked X token pays you 1 kilogram of commodity per year.
Okay.
Yield is paid in C tokens, right? So 1x rice pays you 1 C rice a year, basically. Right.
Okay,
so you
so
stake 1x rice.
At least for me, not exactly the fastest learner, apparently. Can you again give like a small overview of like what's the difference between an X token and a C token?
Absolutely. So C token or a commodity token is what yield is paid in. That's what you're collecting your yield in. And 1 C token represents 1 kilogram of commodity. So 1 C rice, value of 1 C rice is the value of 1 kilogram of rice. 1 C soy is 1 kilogram of soy, right?
Okay.
So if soy trades on the global market at 35 cents a kilo, 1 C rice is worth 35 cents. You can always redeem C token for USDC. You can always sell it at the current market rate. Okay?
Yes.
So that's what you receive yield in. Now, to get that yield, you need to buy the X token.
Okay,
and
so X tokens get you paid in C tokens.
Exactly. So to get your yield, you need to buy X token. And when you buy X token and stake it, you'll start receiving C token yield. You can keep it in C tokens, which means like I'm keeping my yield in rice because I think rice over time will double in price, right?
Okay.
Right. So I can keep it in rice as long as I want, or I can take it out every day and I can sell it for USDC at the current market price.
Or you can switch it to X rice, for example.
No, you can't switch it to X rice, but you can sell it for USDC and use USDC to then buy the extra, buy more X rice.
That's what I mean. Because again, if I want to touch on the difference again, like X rice is like holding the land, and C rice is holding the rice itself.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good one. So X rice is like you own. It's like holding a small piece of land, and C rice is holding a kilogram of rice.
It's actually kind of cool because just like in real life, you can either own the land that produces the product, or you can own the product itself. These are not necessarily.
Well, you own both, because in order for you to get the C rice, somebody needs to stake the X rice.
Yeah.
Right. So this.
What do you mean somebody? Like you have to.
I mean,
stake
you or somebody else, because you can buy the C rice probably from somebody. I mean, it's a token.
Okay,
it has a price, right? So the C token itself is an interesting token because it represents a kilogram of rice, right? Or corn or soy or wheat, right? So there's 4 of them. Now, all these 4, right? So the 4 X tokens can be combined into an X basket. In which case,
you have to have all of the 4.
Yeah, all 4, equal amount of all 4, and then you can mint the next basket.
Okay.
Right, and you basically deposit all 4 in equal amounts into a smart contract, and it will mint you X basket. And on the background, it will stake these 4 X tokens, collect yield in C tokens, sell the yield, and buy more X tokens. So your X basket will grow over time by the amount of yield that's coming into it.
So it's an auto compounding strategy.
Correct. Yeah, it's a set and forget auto compounding vault. That is pretty cool.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to borrow against, because you have a bunch of these X tokens, you mint them into an X basket, or you buy an X basket, like there's a market for it, and then you take X basket to, let's say, TimeSwap or FIDE, you deposit X basket and you borrow USDC against it. It's quite stable, right? And it auto compounds, it grows in value while it's, being used as a collateral. So it's a yield bearing collateral in the form of ERC20 token, which is pretty cool, I think.
It's actually very cool, to be honest. And
then you can, but then you can loop it, right? Then you can loop it. You can borrow against it and go buy more X baskets. Right? Loop it again.
DeFi's favorite strategy, looping.
DeFi's favorite strategy for degens, 100%. Right?
For sure, first of all. And what kind of usage is this already getting?
It's a couple. Yeah, it's like our TVL is a few million. On the X tokens, but we're limited.
I wanted to ask you. Sorry, Landworker, I wanted to ask you another thing about the X basket. When you say an equal amount, is it an equal amount of X tokens, or is it like an equal dollar amount of?
No, equal amount of X tokens. So 5 X rice, 5 X corn, 5 X rice.
Although these can for sure vary in price, like these are obviously not the same prices.
Yeah, they vary in price because the commodities have different price, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the land producing them, on a long-term basis, is worth a different amount.
No, because you have different yields, right? The land, see, there's a correlation between how much yield or how much product a land can produce, and it represents intrinsic qualities of the land. If there was any difference, then everybody would be farming always the commodity that is giving the best, financial outcome. But because it's uncertain, what will happen to the price of corn? What will happen with the price of rice? What will happen with the price of soy? Farmer every year needs to make a decision. What is it that he wants to farm? Is it going to be soy next year, or is it going to be corn maybe next year? He needs to take into consideration crop rotation, for example. Oh, for my soil, it's better not to plant this year. I'll plant this year, right? So, and the fascinating thing about this, X token economy, and I wish we had more time to talk about it, because farmland markets, or a potential of global farmland market, is huge. There is no global farmland market today. There's a local farmland market in Romania, local farmland market in Colombia, and sometimes price variance between countries for a very similar block of land producing a similar output in terms of its yield, agricultural commodity yield, might be 15x. Ridiculous. You
Yeah,
can buy
because of like real estate
no,
price.
because of just absence of a market. People don't know. They don't know how to buy. They don't know how to farm. There are regulatory issues here and there. There is people just don't know. Not look. You go to US now. You'd struggle to buy a block of farmland for row crops for less than probably $10,000 an acre, which is like $40,000 a hectare. You go to Colombia, you can buy a block of land that has probably 2 crops a year potential with a bit of work. You can buy for 2,000, maybe 2,500 US dollars a hectare. I mean, what's the difference where you are, right? Like, okay, here I'm in the US, I've got more protection, I've got more safety, I've got probably, bigger market, better infrastructure, access to finance, whatever. In Colombia, I don't have any of that. But I'm producing the same amount of the same corn. It's bloody corn that grows there. Does it matter where it grows? No. Does it have the same price? Well, it should be similar price at least, right? Where it's grown in Colombia or US. So what's the productive? What's the economic value of that asset that is producing very similar economic output? It has to be very similar, right? But it's not. It's not similar.
But isn't it also different because like prices in general are different in the US? So corn in the US is worth more than corn. You know what I mean? And
No, it's
also, if
not.
you want to
No,
grow
it's
it in
not.
Colombia and
No,
get
it's
it to
not.
the US, you have like
It's
the
not.
transportation
No,
cost.
mate. No. Rice in Colombia is more expensive than rice on Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
Uh-huh.
Local rice in Colombia off the field outside of the harvest season is more expensive than CBOT prices.
Okay, and that's basically because they take all the rice and sell it to the US because they get more money for it there?
Well, there's a global market for commodities. I mean, it's a commodity market. People will arbitrage it. If there's a big price difference, you have arbitrage immediately. You open a contract, you open a futures on CBOT, you go buy it, you know.
I will give you an example from stuff that people tell me. I'm in Israel, and they tell me that, for example, because we have like a significant agricultural like industry, especially like high tech.
Yeah. I know.
And but they always say that the actual good product goes to export. Like what we see in our stores, like the homegrown agriculture produce. What we get is like the second grade, because the first grade gets sent out because people around the world are willing to pay a lot of money for these peppers. So they're going to sell the peppers like to Europe instead of keeping them here.
Look, there are price differences, of course, variations. But when you're a retailer or a grower, 3%, 5% is a big difference for you in terms of, So I'm not saying the prices are the same everywhere. For example, Bulgaria or Brazil soy is usually CBOT plus 6 percentage points.
What's CBOT again?
Chicago Board of Trade.
Okay.
Or Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which is the biggest market for these commodities: rice, soy, corn, wheat.
And what people mostly trade about these are futures?
Yeah. I mean, the global farmland commodities trading market is about 5% of global trading. It's huge. Trillions of dollars of value exchanged every year. So, outside of that sort of big sort of macro picture, you've got global farmland. So just imagine the world is without borders, and there's no, people are the same everywhere. Your capital flows freely everywhere. The kumbaya, on the planet. And then you go to Brazil, or you go to Colombia, or you go to Nigeria, or you go to Zimbabwe, for example, and you want to grow corn. And the corn has the same price everywhere because there's global trading market for corn or similar price. How much would you pay for land that grows corn? Would you pay 10 times more in Netherlands or in Germany for it than you'd pay in Romania, for example, which is a couple of 100 kilometers away? Why would you? Why would you pay $10,000 a hectare in Romania and $40,000 a year in Netherlands? It's just because there's bloody no market. And why there's no market? Well, because it's hard, because you got to farm that land. You got to know who the farmer is, what he's going to do to it, where to sell it. So the Dutch farmer is not going to go and start farming in Romania easily. And that's why. And because the salary in Zimbabwe on the farm or in Colombia on the farm is less than the salary of a German guy on the farm, right? That's why. All these things, they play into this lack of liquidity and lack of capital flow in my view, probably the most important undeveloped global market today, of the third most important commodity after air and water, if you can call those commodities, is food. And there's no global market on underlying asset that produces food. There's a market for tractors, yes. There's a market for fertilizers, yes. There's a market for energy, yes. There's a market for product itself, corn, yes. There's no bloody market for farmland. I'm not saying we solved the problem, but I'm saying that our solution on paper and in theory is a solution to formation of global farmland markets. Because if you start looking into our solution deeper, you'll understand that the price of X token is a representation of value of a small piece of land that produces a kilogram of important commodity. Right? I know I went on the rant here. I'm excited about it.
No, it's amazing. Like it makes
I've
me
always
think.
been excited about this thing because to me, there's no other way. I can see it, that there's no other way. In 5, 10, I don't know, 15, 50 years. I don't know how long it's going to take. But this way to tokenize value of farmland is the only way how global markets of farmland can be created. The capital will start flowing freely into places where and giving fair value for for this asset based on the demand on the commodity. That land is no good for anything else. Believe me, you can't build a house in it. It's in the middle of nowhere. Nobody wants to live there, right? It's flat. It's plain. It's ugly. It's built, it's built to harvest on it. It's not your farmland with cows and and bees.
It's rough areas, probably. Like I can only
It's a
imagine.
flat,
But like,
from horizon to horizon, flat piece,
yeah.
flat
These
as a table, right? Flat piece of brown stuff.
these are the outdoors.
Exactly. It's not good for anything else. And look, if I drop you in the middle of a rice field in Colombia or somewhere else, you won't know where you are. It's identical. They're the same. Or soy field or cornfield, even better. You won't see even where you are. So there has to be a market. And I think that what we're doing inadvertently is we're trying to create a market for global farmlands. And what it will do miracles. Why? Because it will allow for free flow of capital into areas where capital is needed, where farmers are overexploited by circumstance and not able to improve their harvest, for example, because they have no access to capital. With capital, they can build silos, they can build irrigation system, produce more harvest, right? There's more people now. We need more food. We will need more food anyway, right? How do we produce more food? Well, we can't really chop up rainforests anymore, can we? We can't. So we need to use existing fields. But if we keep using existing fields without thinking, we deplete the quality of the soils that we've got there, and eventually we'll have deserts instead of those fields. So we're in a tricky situation, and I don't know how to solve all that. It's not my problem, really. But what I know is that without capital, none of that will be solved. But if capital will start flowing to these areas, a farmer who can commit a fixed amount of harvest for his, for his block of land and can get hold of capital, can deploy this capital because he loves the land. He doesn't want the land to be killed. He wants the land to be improved. Maybe he wants to go regen farming, right? Maybe he wants to mix, animal and plant on his stuff. Put um, uh, um, put overcrops and don't use chemical fertilizers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways how the farmer can improve the quality of the food that he's producing, and it all then goes into what we eat. If we don't have any solution for the capital flow into agricultural industry, the quality of the food that we're eating will be worse and worse and worse every year.
Yeah.
And then we'll ask the question, why are we so obese? Why is bloody 60% of the population is obese? Well, look what you're eating.
Yeah.
You're eating fertilizer.
Exactly. By the way, because they don't allow the land to rest. In Judaism, for example,
Yeah.
every seventh year is like just like you strike on the seventh day, like you
March, yes, every seventh year you
every
can't.
seventh year,
Well,
you don't
correct. Allows the land to regenerate.
You allow the land to do its health, and I think that every 7 cycles, maybe even like for 2 years, you do. There are all kinds of rules of how you treat the land, because just like you say, it has to you're playing the long game here. This is not short-term trading and investing. This is how do we actually sustain the very resource that sustains us?
It's a fascinating problem, and it's a commons problem, right? So it's a problem where we, by the nature of our I guess makeup, will be exploiting farmland and its resources and soil to the point where there's just basically no food anymore grown. And then we start thinking, and that's what we're doing with a bunch of other resources. By no means I'm a greenie or anything like that. But I see the problems. I see where it's going. If we don't pay attention to soil quality, if we don't invest in various methods and technologies to optimize the use of the fertilizers, without which we cannot obviously grow anything, but it needs to be managed much, much, much better with less impact. There has to be crop rotation. There has to be many other things, in place. So LandX has a foundation called LandX Choice, and this is the foundation that sponsors the initiatives which are targeting problems of soil quality and farming technologies in general, use of tech in farming, etc. We believe the situation needs to improve, and we're advocates for big change in this industry, while we're providing, obviously, our main focus in providing real solutions. So that's our main product. This is X tokens and C tokens. There's a bunch of materials on the website. There is Academy there. There are videos and stuff. And the best way to do it is just to come in and buy a token, stake it, receive C token yield, and become a real farmer on chain. That's the best way. Start getting yield in corn, rice, soy, or wheat, and keep that C token, and know that C token can always be sold for a price of a kilogram of commodity. That's the best way to secure financial or food security. Like I'm buying X tokens for my family in case there is a in case shit hits the fan, whatever happens. I know that my rice, I can always sell it for the price at which this rice is worth, and then I can buy some other stuff. But it's quite safe to keep some funds, I believe, in commodities without you needing to pay for storage. You don't buy futures. The futures don't give you that exposure. It gives you price exposure, right? This is like you have a kilogram of rice or a ton of rice or 50 tons of rice that you're keeping in somebody else's warehouse, basically without paying for it, that you can sell at any time at the market price. Fantastic thing. So that's one product. And then the second product we've got is a credit gateway. Launched it a few months ago, did a few first pools. Credit gateway addresses a slightly different problem: access to rapid finance for farmers. And that addresses the problem of short-term finance, 3, 6, 9, 12 months. He needs money to buy inputs, buy fertilizers. He needs money for, some improvements, buy some tech, whatever. Loans vary from $50,000 to $1 million, and yields are high. We're targeting yields in excess of 20%, so you can get 20 to 30% APY on your stable coins on LandX Credit Gateway, also accessible through the main website. None of these products at the moment are accessible to US investors. So they're geo-blocked, and there's a lot of warnings around because we're waiting for some certainty around regulatory framework there. But pretty much everywhere in the world where stuff is not being really hunted down, then we're okay. We're okay to work. There, we don't do anything bad. We're very transparent. We've got proof of reserves. Farmers use their land as a collateral to mint X tokens. Protocol has always recourse in case the farmer doesn't meet his crop share obligations. We can always repossess the land and rent it out to somebody else. So there's a lot of different built-in safety mechanisms inside the protocol, crop insurance and stuff like that. There's ISM, which is insurance and safety module, where investors can stake a LandX token, taking some risks of the protocol, but receive yield in stable coin for insurance that's being paid for the crop loss.
How does LandX itself make money? Like from fees on the?
So we have 3 sources of revenue generation. We take fees out of the X token mints, out of the payments of crop share. We deploy our treasury, which is a foundation. So treasury is being deployed, funds are being used to generate yield, and that yield is covering some expenses and also some reward programs we're running. And then we've got some fees that we're generating from trading activities on our DEXs and SEXs and things like that. So all that comes into our pool, our treasury pool that we manage. It's quite stable. We got over $4 million US dollars worth of liquid assets in the treasury, more than our market cap. So we're pretty good, like in that sense. And we're looking to be cash flow neutral by the end of this year as a foundation. So we'll burn as much money as we're earning, basically, which extends our runway indefinitely and puts us in really good position to keep on building stuff.
It's really exciting because, I think I'm sure it's quite complex to start working in a new market. I'm sure there's a lot of, I don't know, you have to deal with some people on the ground. It's not like, okay, this code, just give me the API and we'll fix stuff, whatever.
But we've got some good people in the team. We've got also partners and obviously our seed investors who are very instrumental in the whole thing. They've got the connections and people in the agricultural industry. They know everything there.
Yeah, listen, it's a huge project. Honestly, it's a very ambitious. One of the things I like the most about it is the fact that this is a very ambitious endeavor about changing society. And by the way, as you were speaking, I was thinking about some other implications that this kind of global land ownership can have, and I'm not sure it's all positive to say the least. And really, it's fascinating because it creates all these new paths that stuff can go to.
Exactly. Some of the things, and very, very, very unexpected, something that we didn't know. We're approached by a chicken farm in Portugal that says we buying a certain amount, I can't remember, 20 tons of corn every year to feed our chickens every year, right? So they have to buy corn. Every year, they have a problem. They don't know how much they're going to pay for corn that year. because commodity markets are sellers markets, and there's no loyalty there. There's no long-term agreements. You'll supply me 20 tons, 2 tons every year. No. The seller always sells to the highest bidder. And the farmer, the grower, always thinks that the price tomorrow will be higher than today. This is how they are. They don't believe the price tomorrow will be lower. Even if it's lower tomorrow, they think that it will be higher tomorrow. That's how they are.
Bullish, always bullish.
Always bullish. The farmer is always bullish on the price of commodity. Always. Always. So if you're a buyer of commodity, imagine you have to deal every year with a bullish seller. It's a bloody nightmare for them every year. And everybody who is buying this commodity for themselves is in that situation. They don't know if they're going to get that wheat for a bakery or for a mill. I mean, not a bakery, but a mill, right? Or a rice plant that is drying, packing, whatever, rice. They don't know if they're going to get it. So that's why they're holding on very tightly to guys in Colombia that are bringing in that rice, because if they don't, they'll have to deal with that stuff. They need to buy that rice of them. But we want to flip the table. We want the grower to be able to kind of really dictate what's going on based on the demand, based on supply, based on value of the land globally, not some mill owner. Like, why should he say how much the rice is worth? Right? So that Portuguese chicken farm, they have to deal with the sellers of corn every year, and they don't know how much they're going to pay. So for them, being able to pay today for supply of 20 tons of corn every year is a miracle. Now, they can buy 20,000 X tokens today, and they have supply of 20 tons of corn every year from now on.
But how do they redeem it for actual corn?
They sell it for US dollars, and then they go and buy corn, mate.
But can't if they actually have the only one guy that's selling them corn?
No. It's not one guy who's selling. It's a question of price. You can always buy. So you can always come in and outbid the highest bidder. Like, it's no problem to buy if you're paying more. That's the problem, right? But the seller of corn will always sell the corn. He's not going to sit on the corn. There's always a buyer for the corn. And you can always buy the corn, but you got to pay more than the other guy to buy it. That's the problem. So their price is not guaranteed, because if you outbid the other guy may say, okay, well, I'll give you, 3% more or 1% more. Right? And the seller of corn will sell to the highest bidder all the time. So it's a tough market to be in. Especially if you're a small chicken farm. Okay, if you're a, massive multinational buying that stuff, okay, then you've got your own ways of, dealing with it. But anyway, so the real implication of this is that they're asking us, what if we store the C token yield in C tokens? Can we organize that we can redeem that physical corn for these C tokens at some, corn silo, some corn warehouse? Can we pay them with the C tokens and they give us the physical product? And we thought that's a cool use case. Really, really cool use case, especially around the Mediterranean Ocean, where there's a lot of trade going on and not a lot of product being grown. So anyway, that's one case. The other case was a guy in Colombia who basically, he tokenized his land. He got X tokens. He sold X tokens, and now he's going to Paraguay to look for land to buy in Paraguay. So he's going to make a swap of land in Colombia for the land in Paraguay because the prices are favorable, right? Or you can do it from Brazil to Uruguay, for example. Brazil is more expensive. The farmland in Brazil is more expensive, so you can tokenize it in Brazil, sell X tokens there, get the money, go into Uruguay, and then tokenize the land there, and then repay the tokens back. So there's a lot of different and interesting real world arbitrage. We're not there yet, so it's not as fluid. Markets are still small, but eventually I can see this thing happening, and I can see once it's established itself as a mechanism, as a viable mechanism, I can see that the capital will start flowing freely there. So anyway,
that's amazing, man. And just before we wrap up, I will maybe ask you what kinds of efforts do you guys are you guys doing these days to keep this thing going forward? Because again, it's a very unique kind of thing to be working on and promoting. And as well, if you want to give any kind of shout out or call to action to people before we wrap it up.
Start stacking up on corn, rice, soy, wheat, guys.
Simple as that, folks.
Simple as that.
And by the way, is it currently on Arbitrum? I saw that you guys
we're in Ethereum as well. Yeah, we're both Ethereum and Arbitrum. I'm looking at Base as well.
Nice.
No, but what we do is this: we work with the supply side, which is the farmers and the borrowers for the credit gateway, and that's our corporate sort of relationship base. We've got a form on the website. Periodically, we've got some applications coming in, but mostly it's our sort of real world outreach to people that we can get to through our networks. And on the capital side, it's open to the DeFi community. LandX.fi, all the products are there. You can just click through the buttons and you'll get to the product pages, whether it's X tokens, LandX Credit Gateway, or Insurance Safety Module. So there's 3 products now that are fueling this whole ecosystem that we've got. We're not looking at more products, but we're looking at more depth and breadth of the TVL in each one of them. So
you already have a lot of products, to be honest.
It's enough. It's enough products, and
it's a lot to digest, but there are several different actors that can definitely be interested, and you guys offer really, in my opinion, a very unique and one of a kind project.
Thanks. But the way we think about it is that if you've got $1,000 in your portfolio, or $1 million, or $10 million, then you would probably look at diversification as your primary safety mechanism. You'd need to diversify, especially if you're in crypto, right? So you want to have exposure to things that have non-correlated risks. And unfortunately, most of the stuff on chain is correlated to the price of Bitcoin. Too much. Too heavily correlated to price of Bitcoin.
To the price of Doge as well.
Yeah, also to price of Doge. Exactly. So
you're right. It's a very and also the kind of people that are holding crypto assets, they're usually not the kind of people holding rice. Outside of
Look, and we're happy to talk to whales. We don't have obviously time to talk to everybody, privately, but we're happy to talk, and we do that. We have whales who calling us, and they're deploying $50,000, $100,000 of capital because but obviously before you deploy 50 grand or 100 grand in a project like this, you want to know more. So they have questions. They're all the same questions most of the time. How are you ensuring the safety of the funds?
Yeah.
How is how's the land collateral executed? What happens if there's bad weather? Will the farmer not pay? There's a bunch of these questions that we have FAQs for, but we always are happy to jump on calls and talk to whales or investors and have AMAs and whatever, answering questions. So I know this is supposed to be a podcast. It's not an AMA session, but I'm happy to kind of dive in and see whether there's any questions.
Do you want to answer that one? We had this question earlier.
Yeah, the land work, but it's a problem with liquidating the land. Who will buy 10 hectares of rice field in Colombia if the farmer goes under? What will be the fair market value of the price of land? So it's a good question, and you cannot buy. If you go to Colombia now and say, I want to buy a piece of land that has history of productive use and grows rice on it, you will probably have that land for sale for about 3.5 minutes. It will be snapped by neighbors, right? By either neighbors or larger farmers. So liquidity on farmland that is in productive use, which is priced fairly, is instant because nobody wants to sell the land. It's a seller's market as well. The seller's market is a different beast. They control it. So liquidation of the land is not a problem. We don't need to sell the land. So land that is backing the crop share obligations of our farmers is basically can be repossessed by the foundation because the crop share payment wasn't paid quite easily. But then we need to find a farmer who will then take on the existing obligation. We're not interested in selling the land. Although we can sell the land, repurchase all outstanding X tokens and burn them, right? And, distribute the profit amongst the governance token holders. But the reality is that we're interested in keeping the yield coming in. So we'll find a farmer who will replace the farmer who defaulted. Never had the case like this yet, but maybe one day it will. But in this case, we have a plan.
That's fascinating. By the way, if someone knows a farmer or a landowner and they think that they can fit,
send them our way, guys. Absolutely, send them our way. We're looking at.
And you say the most relevant areas so far are, for example, Africa, South America.
Latin America would be the focus number one. Eastern Europe would be focus number two. Africa would be the focus number three. Not probably. We're working with a farmer now in South Africa, going through some regulatory structures that we need to have in place for a country. Every country is unique. So one of the challenges is that every country needs a specific set of documents and this legal process that we're establishing. So we've done it for Colombia, we've done it for EU, and we're doing it now for South Africa.
That's actually and by the way, why only these 4 commodities? Just because of their scale, like for example, because
they have huge markets, they are massive, and they can be easily replaced. You can grow rice or you can grow corn on similar land, like in similar places, and they constitute the majority of the commodities that are being consumed. So we're happy if somebody else starts doing cocoa beans or or coffee or sugar or anything else.
But these are just relatively smaller markets, so it doesn't make the same.
No, they're sense. Big as well. But these commodities that we chose, in the best possible way, and I'll try to formulate it as accurately as I can, but they represent a model where the price of X token is governed by the quality of the land to a larger degree than if we'd be tokenizing coffee plantation, because a kilogram of coffee a year would be dependent on quality of the coffee trees, not on the land where the coffee trees are grown. But a kilogram of corn a year depends on the soil, and some soil can produce 6 tons of corn a year, and some soil can produce 3 tons of corn a year. Farmland in Kazakhstan is producing 2.5 tons of corn, of wheat, or in Australia, for example. It's not great land because it's dry. So it only produces 2.5, maybe 2 to 2.5 tons of wheat a year. But farmland in, let's say, Romania, wheat farmland in Romania produces easily 5 tons, 6 tons of wheat a year. Double that. Now, that land has to be...
What size, what size of land produces that?
Well, that's per hectare, right? So you have the productivity of the land that's measured in how much product it can produce per hectare.
How big is a hectare, by the way?
Hectare is
in meters,
square meters.
2,000 square meters?
No, 10,000 square meters. So it's 100 by 100 meters. Yeah. So it's 100 meters by 100 meters.
Okay.
So it's quite big. So that's 1 hectare. 1 hectare produces, let's say, 5 tons of wheat. Wheat, let's say, is 25 cents, for example. So it's $1,250 of value that you can extract out of a block of land, which is 100 meters by 100 meters, right? So when you're buying X corn, or let's say X wheat, let me just do a very quick calculation. So you're buying one. So 1/10,000th of a hectare, right? Which is so okay. Somebody can do it. My brain is not there now. I don't want to do it. But it's basically you're buying a small piece of land. So like if you're yielding 5 tons per hectare, then the question is how much land you're buying for 1 kilogram, right? So you need to divide that hectare by 5,000 because that's how much you're producing. So 10,000 square meters divided by 5,000 is 2 square meters, right? So 1x wheat is like you're buying 2 square meters of land, right? With somebody working on it all the time, by the way, to go there with a worker and equipment as well.
Yeah,
You're gonna get that wheat from
producing a piece of land, not just like a
producing exactly. So it's not just a pretty land; it's actually producing.
It's a working, functioning, producing.
Exactly, you're buying a real cool asset.
Yeah. You're buying a business in a way, but it's the oldest business we have, agriculture.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Now, if we can get this message across and we can get people to understand what it is, we're gonna have a very, very good future, not just as LandX, but as agricultural industry, because the capital will just rush there.
So how do we do it, Landwalker?
We talk, and look, Rome wasn't built in one day, so it's going to take some time. Like we do what we can, and I think we're doing the right things. We need to bring in the level of service and quality of the product and yield, and people start paying attention, and then eventually this period of speculative use of DeFi will come to its glorious flop and end. People will start paying attention to some real world stuff and some real world problems and how blockchain helps to solve them.
Yeah, I also think that there's with this kind of business, there are whole other kinds of types of content to be produced, and there are ways to push it in which that are not very common DeFi ways, and this is not an exact it is a it's a DeFi product, but it resonates with very much non-crypto people. So in a way, I think there are so many different types of opportunities on how we push such an idea forward.
Agree.
I'm very much looking forward to some of the stuff that you guys will be putting out. I've even heard some kind of a rumor. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I heard a specific rumor that I think is going to be very cool when I talked to DK. And I'm very excited to see what you guys come up with, not only on the project, on the product side, because I really think that you guys are already offering so many different types of features. I'm very curious to see how you guys are going to implement it. And really make the whole thing grow.
Yeah, I mean, the way we're looking at this, like when we started, a lot of stuff that we have now, we're not there but we're looking at this whole DeFi as this big engineering lab where teams of guys are building stuff, exchanges and swaps and bonds and like locking NFTs, like FNFTs, and there's a lot of stuff that's being built. It's like a toolbox. Like we're looking at DeFi as a toolbox, basically, of different mechanics and mechanisms of capital flow and incentive generation. And but it's great as a toolbox, but then you need to apply the toolbox to some, real world problems. You need to use these tools somewhere. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put our hands into the toolbox of DeFi and then apply them into solving the problems in real world. It's focusing very narrowly on this agricultural farming, markets. There we go.
Gonna be exciting, man. Already hope to have you on again whenever, because I think
we're happy to jump on anytime. And by the way, we can talk about this stuff 24 hours a day. So anybody, if anybody has any questions, guys, there's no silly questions. I know it's a very, and Probably also there is an easier way to explain it. So if anybody of you know how to explain it better, please do so and let us know, because we'd like to learn as well from many people in the community, from which we've got a lot of different feedback along the way as we were building. So our community has been fantastic. One of our investors visited the farm in Colombia,
so cool.
took a video of a farmer.
That's so cool. I think DK told me about it.
Yeah, you spend a few days
Like, go ahead,
on the
go ahead.
farm, and they had
What farm was that, by the way? Like, I mean, what were they growing?
rice.
And can you share where?
In it's in Yopal, in Casanare province, in Colombia. Colombia, Yopal.
Wow. That's the same guy that you said that put this hydration like.
He's putting now, yeah. He hasn't put it yet, but he's putting it now to get to 2 harvests a year. Well, at least that's what we're told.
So the investor went there and what?
Oh, he went there with cameras. We organized that. I mean, we asked Juan if, obviously somebody can. He was happy to share his time. And so Dow Chemist, who is also who is the founder of the farmers market, went there with the camera, and they had a long interview, and he took him to the farm, showed him the fields. They sat down, they chatted about it for the whole day. So he spent a whole day.
Is that video out, by the way? Like,
it's on Twitter.
Video of that?
Yeah, it's on Twitter. Yeah. Yeah, we can probably pin it.
Can you maybe share it? Maybe we can try showing it before we wrap up the show. Maybe we can show some.
Yeah, we'll pin it on our Twitter. Let me just send a quick message.
If you find them now, it will be kind of cool actually to wrap the show up with a short video from it.
I can do that. Okay.
I hope it will work smoothly, but let's.
No, it will. But let me.
You can send it to me on Telegram or here on the private chat.
Yeah. Let me find it just now. One sec.
Because like this kind of stuff is stuff that can really go on camera. And most of the DeFi stuff that we do, like it's not stuff that can go on camera. It's stuff that can be animated extremely well. And I think that some projects are doing an amazing job brand-wise. But with what you guys do, you can have like real-world footage, So real-world footage is a whole new, a whole different type of marketing in a way. And it also touches different people. So I actually think that's a huge benefit that you guys can and should leverage. Also because it's crops and the outdoors and whatever. This can be filmed amazingly. I don't know, you get some drones there or whatever.
Yeah, there was a drone footage as well there in the video.
It's insane, man. Like with stuff.
Yeah, he was flying some drones there as well. Let me find that video. I mean, it's not that fascinating, but it's a cool thing. Like, it's our first. So I'm in our profile. I'm trying to go through the media there, because that's where I think the easiest way to find it would be. And I'm just scrolling down, and we've got a lot of different content that we're publishing. Jesus Christ. All right, there we go. There it probably is.
You want to try and share your screen, maybe? You see that button in the middle?
To share the screen, yeah.
The restream?
Restream.
You can also try to do it through my screen if you give me the screen, like whatever you prefer.
Hang on.
You can also send me the link and I will try sharing my screen. But there's like a button next to where the camera and the mic on and off buttons are.
See, the problem is that you're opening the Twitter. I just put a search, but search term Yopal video into Twitter. So I'm not recommending you do that, because there's all sorts of gruesome stuff coming out.
Oh my God.
No good. Yeah. So look, Yopal video LandX. Let me see if that's no.
I think he sent us something right now, DK on the group.
Oh, good. Okay. Wow, fantastic. All right.
Second,
that's the video. Thanks, DK. Thanks, mate. Saved me again. Yeah. So that's the video. Click on it and maybe share it.
Okay, can you? Is it just a second? I will try to share.
Yeah, can you share your screen? Because you can click on
it.
it.
Yeah, just a second. I'm also very slow with this kind of stuff, but I think I got it. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, it's small.
Is it better now?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Let's
so that's where it is, right? So that's
Is there sound? Can you hear the sound?
Yeah. So when I say pause, maybe you can.
We're here on the rice farm in Joe Paulo. It's the first project that LandX is working with. So we're here with Juan. Hey Juan, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Fine.
Very good to meet you. How big is this rice farm that we're looking at?
We actually we have 2,980 hectares in this land.
Wow.
Now
This is one of the rice seed. ¿Qué tipo de arroz es? ¿Es arroz normal?
Paddy verde.
Paddy verde, okay. ¿Y cuánto tiempo para crecer?
it's entre 3 months or 4 months.
3 months or 4 months.
So he's
okay.
asking how much
So
it's
in
going to
3
take
months
to
or 4
grow
months when
rice.
we come back, this is going to look green.
So the video was
Everywhere.
shot
Everywhere green.
before these fields were, yeah. So that's a drone flying. So now they've collected the harvest. The harvest was record about 7 tons per hectare of rice, which was very huge success.
Man, this kind of stuff is really cool. You know, I think that you should like there's a insanely great like you should do a documentary about LandX.
Look, you're competing with Netflix when you're making documentaries for time. People have no time, like the attention span is very small. But definitely there's a big market to kind of talk about stuff that right. So I'll probably shut up because there's some sound in the video.
You want me to put the sound back on?
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's just a reservoir with
Massive.
reservoir of water that's used for irrigation as well.
Guys, we're back with Juan, and we have a new friend, Israel. We're going to do the interview in Spanish. Vamos a hacer las cosas en español. Juan pregunta, ¿cómo LandX ayudar a crecer la finca?
Bueno, para nosotros es muy importante que LandX nos ayude en cuanto al crecimiento de la finca. Pues nosotros tenemos objetivos planteados en cuanto a crecimiento. Y el crecimiento va más allá de tanto la expansión de tierras, o sea, comprar nuevas tierras, como incursionar en nuevos cultivos, como es la soya, el trigo, el maíz, ¿sí? Por eso también es importante que, como ya lo dice Gary, en el terreno se requiere una adaptación del terreno para que, por ejemplo, lo que es la soya, el maíz pueda tener un buen desarrollo en el campo.
Okay.
Eso es todo.
Bueno. Y también hablamos con Israel de las cosas de los molinos. ¿Puedes explicar por qué es un problema y cómo podemos resolver eso?
Uno de los mejores negocios aquí en este momento en Casanare, que es el mayor productor de arroz en Colombia, el departamento que más produce arroz en este momento. El mejor negocio es el tema de la molinería, ¿sí? Donde usted lleva y vende sus productos y ya se lo pagan a un precio que ellos establecen. Cuando uno tiene la oportunidad de hacer su debido secado, de almacenamiento y guardar su arroz para venderlo en el mejor precio, ahí está la mejor ganancia. Entonces qué bueno es cuando el agricultor, que es el que más se sacrifica para hacer producir su arroz, porque tiene que empezar a adecuar sus suelos, comprarlos, adecuarlos, canalizarlos, hacerles terraplenes, aplicarles cal, preparar muy bien los suelos, porque de una buena preparación depende también y una buena siembra y en sí todo el proceso que requiere del arroz. Entonces, es bastante la inversión para usted sembrar una hectárea de arroz, para que después le pongan un precio a precio-costo, como lo han hecho en algunos años. Entonces, creería que estoy seguro de que el mejor negocio es usted poder guardarlo, secarlo, guardarlo y venderlo al mejor precio, o incluso si hay la capacidad de hacer los molinos y sacar el producto terminado, eso sería el mejor negocio, porque aparte de usted sacar un arroz blanco, usted saca sus productos, saca la cascarilla, saca la grasa, el grano partido, la harina de arroz y el mismo arroz que usted puede sacar arroz blanco al 100%, al 50% o al 25%, al 13% o al 12% que como lo pida el cliente.
Entonces, con este proceso, la finca tiene más control, no tanto los molinos.
Claro, o sea, uno puede darse el lujo de esperar el mejor postor para uno venderle su arroz.
Entonces, más poder para las fincas con LandX y potenciar más diversidad.
Sí, en cuanto a lo que te había dicho de la diversidad de los cultivos, pues acá en Casanare el arroz es un fuerte y no es muy común ver que las personas cultiven soya o incursionen con el maíz, o si los hay en terrenos muy pequeños en los cuales el agua que es una gran problemática acá pues para esos cultivos. Entonces, a lo que mencionaba era que al haber terrenos ciertamente altos, el agua no los va a perjudicar. Entonces, por eso es debido que pues para aprovechamiento de todo el terreno se haga un sistema de riego, un sistema de canalización de agua para poder aprovechar el tiempo. Como yo había dicho anteriormente, en el año llueve cierta cantidad de meses y el resto es verano, ¿sí? Entonces, en el verano aprovechar también con el sistema de irrigación, ¿sí? Como había dicho, la soya necesita agua, pero tampoco necesita mucha, ¿sí? Entonces, ese es el por qué es necesario el tema de incursión en otros cultivos.
Wow, okay. Entonces, más control sobre cómo vender y cuándo vender, más diversidad.
That's actually really cool, Walker. You know,
Yeah, it is. And Doug Chemist did a good job, and he really picked out on the main thing, which is quite a subtle business relationship issue, or the business, I guess, makeup there in that particular place where the mills have the control basically over supply chain of rice there. And although these guys want to have capital to have their own mills, because that's ultimately what every farmer wants, he wants to have his own field and the mill so that he can grow, dry, store, package, and sell rice, right, to retail, because that's what the margin is. So they want to capture the whole vertical. They need a lot of money for that. So their land is not sufficient to raise that much capital. But it's sufficient to at least make this incursion into that business model by at least storing it, having storage facility, or having drainage, irrigation system that they can grow more. So they can still benefit, not as much as mills. I don't think anything will change there because of, us coming, and mills will still dictate the prices. It's a bigger market. I mean, it's
only after a while, like I don't
but
know.
in a while, slowly,
now
exactly, slowly, once you grow, who knows? Maybe they're gonna stop buying these mills, left, right, and center. Who knows, mate? What's gonna happen?
Maybe it won't allow the kind of monopoly that they currently
correct. Which means that everybody benefits from it, ultimately, right? So
yeah, man, it's
So
it's such a huge vision. It's such a huge vision,
Yeah, it's an interesting case, but also he's talking about different things needed for preparation of land for different crops, which is true. You have to prepare it. Sort of land has to be versatile. There's a bit of investment that needs to go into land so that it's able to grow not just rice every year, but you can replace rice with soybeans, for example, or with corn. Yeah. So there we go.
A lot of cool stuff. Really,
Absolutely.
I didn't think we will go on for this long, but to be honest, I could have gone on for like 2 hours more. But my dog really wants to go out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you got some other stuff.
I've also got a dog that needs to go out. It's a priority. Exactly.
Yeah, for like the last half hour, he's like, man, come on, I can see that you like these crops and stuff, but he wants to check out some crops outside himself.
His own stuff. How are you guys there in Israel? What's going on?
It's on one case, it's like similar to what we know all the time, but on the other hand, we can feel that situation is different this past year.
But it's good that you're there and you're working and everything. Like people,
on most parts of Israel, most of the time, thank God, it's okay. But like again, I don't want to get too much into it, but listen, I think that people are now starting to see similar stuff to what we're dealing with. I think they're starting to notice it worldwide.
Mate,
it's one thing to like imagine how things should be, but when you when reality shows you that it's different, you have to like act appropriately. And there are people actually in Israel right now that they can't live a normal life, like the people on the northern border and those near the Gaza Strip. Their life is not normal at all. And by the way, and other people, like we are dealing with a lot of terror, unfortunately, here, but hope for the best as always. And really, this is not only an issue, like it has its ways of showing itself here, but I think worldwide, in Europe, in the States as well, like the kind of stuff that I've seen this year have really proven me that, listen, this is something that other places in the world
needs
starting to deal with as well.
And
people are going to have to like realize that you got to do if you want to maintain your culture, you have to maintain your culture.
Well, I wish you guys like all the peace that you can get,
and really appreciate it
in the whole region and everybody there, of course.
Amen, sir. Amen. Like I really think that on some aspect, like the Middle East can really thrive, but it's not as simple as I once.
No, it's not simple. But there
wanted to imagine. Because different cultures demand different things, and you can't just like close your eyes and say, "Oh, that other culture is gonna accept whatever values we feel like it's accepting." It's
maybe somebody will do something on blockchain to solve that problem. Let's see.
Amen. Hope for any kind of facilitation, and I do think that if only we were to grow some great produce together, would be kind of great. The land can be used to grow great stuff instead of a lot of what it's used for now. And the soil in the Middle East, just like in many places around the world, a lot of the soil is actually blessed and really amazing.
Amen, brother. Absolutely. And
I don't know if you've ever eaten. I don't know if you've ever been here and like tasted.
I've been actually in Dan. So I spoke to a friend of mine who lives in Dan, literally a few hours ago.
Like what? In the north of Israel?
Yeah, very, very, very north. I was there a few years ago visiting him, and it's on the border of Lebanon, effectively.
Yeah, they have an amazing soil there. Like
his home is beautiful land there, and he's home now, and his kids are not. So his kids been moved into Haifa, so they go to school there. And
Haifa is closer to where I am. I'm
visiting him, and look. I've been there once.
He's a farmer, by the way?
No, he's a designer. So he works online and so does quite a bit of stuff with China. But he helped us a lot with our previous businesses, and nice. He's a great guy. And the way he kind of went through this whole period, I was trying to get him out of there to come and stay with us in Europe. But he was there, and kind of like there's a unity there, and I'm not really I don't know the problem deep enough. I understand it's a big, big problem. And I know that he's a great guy, and I sympathize greatly with what kind of struggles he's going through, as well as probably millions of other people in the region are going through, of course. So, but because definitely everybody's got struggles and everybody's got pain that they're going through. And hopefully one day this pain will subside and it will be replaced by the conductive cooperation and productive efforts of people to make their lives happier, better. We've got only one life, and it's sad to see that life being spent on things that are taking away rather than adding to it. And it's always good to kind of hope that one day, things.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully, there are many people like in the Middle East who actually want it, but it's not. But it's not as simple as we think, because really. What can we say? We can definitely only hope that crypto and blockchain will help us facilitate this kind of stuff. I know that for me personally, ever since I've, trying to do some stuff in the industry, all of a sudden people from around the world, and sometimes for sure you don't necessarily agree on stuff, but you do get exposed to other cultures, other norms, other habits, and also the kind of places where it all really fits in together, because people do want to interact with one another.
Yeah, and I think that blockchain does what is important. It sort of removes the economic or it gives economic sovereignty to individuals. And you have your political sovereignty now. You can choose whatever ideology or religion you want to believe in, based on whatever factors, cultural, historical, wherever you're born. It doesn't matter, but you have a choice. This is yours. Blockchain gives you that choice with your economic sovereignty and independence, and that's, I think, is a fantastic thing. And once you combine your ideological or cultural or religious sovereignty with economic sovereignty, then you really truly have a place where you don't need to listen to other people or other ideologies or fight somebody, because you're sovereign. You're fine. So go and build. So I don't know, mate. Big problem. Hopefully there'll be a solution.
Always, we have to find small solutions at a time. We don't just fix the whole thing.
We do our part.
We should each focus, exactly, on doing whatever we can, and searching for the truth. Like, I'm not saying there are multiple truths, but there are different perspectives on same truth. But as long as you really want to explore, to try to reach it on whatever topic it is in life, I think that many times it takes you forward when you actually decide that, okay, I'm not going to just, like I told you before the stream, a lot of the way I view the world, it really changed when I started telling myself, okay, maybe I shouldn't just assume what I've always assumed, because, I don't know, I was socially trying to fit in with what other people used to think on too many topics. And I think that once you actually start exploring, especially with tools like internet and crypto and community, you can really reach places that I didn't really realize that are out there. And one of these places is being here with you, Landwalker, and talking about your amazing project. Really appreciate the huge, the ambition it takes to
thank you, sir,
to come up with such a vision. I wish
you're not liking the ambition, that's for sure.
It's an amazing one. It's a brilliant one. I think it's very important. I wish you a lot of luck with it. And I think either way, it's of high importance. But
by the way, we're having a blast actually doing it. We're actually having a blast. The whole team is loving it, and we can see
because you're doing it for something. You actually believe that there is a purpose in what you do. So you don't really
absolutely, absolutely. And every day is challenging, but we're solving it. We're building stuff and we're shipping as well.
It's cool. And I'll give another shout out to DK. I really like this guy. I think that, you're doing a great job with him.
Yeah, he's a cornerstone of LandX. I wish he was on these spaces more.
Yeah, he's an extremely nice guy. I was very fortunate to meet him in Belgrade. He actually recognized me, and I was like, how can you I used to never do rarely do cameras appearances then.
Yeah.
He was like, no, man, it's me, And at first I didn't really understand. And then when he told me, no, man, it's me from LandX. And when he showed me on the Telegram screen, his PFP, who is, and he was like, oh, DK from LandX, We went out and we sat for an hour at a coffee shop, talked about a lot of stuff and about LandX as well. Yeah, really. It's so exciting. Hope to have you on again whenever you have any kind of updates that you want to share, Landwalker, or whenever you just want to come up and talk finance.
Yeah,
by the way, we have a weekly panel on Thursdays. If you ever want to hop on, feel free. We talk about weekly events. We share our opinions about stuff. And You
Sure.
can come. You
Sure,
can
send
come
us-
by anytime if you're ever
Yeah, send us some
available.
info.
and you
Yeah,
want-
yeah, we'll be happy to. No worries.
I will ping you. And thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Went for almost right now. It's 1 hour and 15 minutes. Respect to all the viewers. Respect to you, Landwalker. Again, like,
No, thanks, guys.
thank you for being so generous with your time and input there. Shout out to our sponsors at yieldnest Fi as well. If you're into LRTs, check them out. And have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, folks.
Thanks, everyone.